Cities, especially American cities, can be pretty bloody big, so isn't it dead weird that superheroes seem to fight the same villains on repeat? It's one thing when a baddie swears revenge and specifically targets a hero, but when, like, the Shocker's minding his own business mid-bank heist, and the hero that stumbles upon him happens to be Spider-Man, again, gets a bit suspicious. There is that theory about one type attracting another similar type. Gods against gods, patriots against people who think they're patriots, mutants against mutants, that sort of thing. So maybe there is some unknown cosmic force in the universe rigging the game to set heroes up against their dark reflections to test their resolve. But really, what are the chances of every crime you commit being foiled by the same hero? So today, we're going to look at sometimes superheroes battled another hero's supervillains. DC kind of averts this by giving every hero a unique city to defend, but that doesn't exclude them. In fact, we're going to start off with them, as the world's greatest superhero takes on the world's most overrated supervillain. Superman, Volume 2, Issue 9. In a Metropolis jewellery store, we seem to find Superman. Only this man of steel is more of a man of stealing. His face contorts into a grim smile as his ears begin spewing a deadly gas. Fortunately for Metropolis, the real deal appears, but whoever created this Kryptonian copycat doesn't mess around. They've loaded the super facsimile with a thermonuclear bomb. If there's ever been a job for Superman, this is it. And he wastes no time saving the city, grabbing the robot and shooting it into space, where the bomb blows safely, far away from innocent lives. Back on Earth, Captain Sawyer of the Special Crimes Division is left cleaning up another metahuman mess. She doesn't need a detective experience to deduce who was behind this one, as the gas that killed the jewellery store clerks left the corpses with a familiar, grim smirk. The Joker has come to Metropolis. Superman returns and Maggie suggests bringing in the expert on the Clown Prince of Crime. But the Batman isn't currently counted among Superman's pals. And speaking of Superman's pals, a sudden alert from Jimmy Olsen's signal watch pulls us away from Captain Sawyer. But it's all a cruel joke, as the Joker has struck again. And this time, it's a personal blow to Superman. Joker claims that he's kidnapped Jimmy, Lois Lane, and Perry White, and entombed them in lead-lined coffins with limited oxygen. Superman can't stop Joker's escape from Metropolis and rescue his friends. He's got a choice to make. They call him the Joker, but a more fitting name would be the Liar. The clown has indeed kidnapped Superman's 3 friends, but the bit about them being in lead-lined coffins was just banter to waste Superman's time. He's keeping his hostages close as Superman hunts empty coffins, giving Joker ample time to escape Metropolis with his stolen jewels. After years of contending with the Batman, Joker believes this is like playing on easy mode. Did the Joker have this chair specially made with a wood carving of his own face for legs? Truly, this man is insane. And kinda stupid as well, as Superman ruins his punchline in no time at all. Dropped off at Strikers Island, Metropolis's premier prison, the laughing stops. Why do they need to involve Gotham police here? It's still America and the crime was committed in Metropolis. Can't they handle it? This is like grassing him up to his mum, isn't it? But how was the crooked clown's caper so cleanly crushed? Well, the Joker's fallen for faulty understanding of Superman's powers. He'd believed lead made things undetectable to Superman's eyes. But lead doesn't make things invisible to supervision, just impenetrable. He found the lead coffins easily and deduced Joker's lies, making the hateful Harlequin the butt of his own joke. It was quite refreshing to read an actually good Joker story, and Joker absolutely bit off more than he could chew here. My favourite bit was how there's no big 3 steps ahead garbage, where this regular clown can take down the whole Justice League. And there was no overly edgy gore like cutting off his own face, it was just a heist and a hostage easily foiled by Superman. Next, we go from a man of steel to a man of iron, when Tony Stark finds himself trapped amongst the Marvel Universe's most vile, led by a villain who can match Iron Man in both mind and metal. In Marvel Fanfare issues 22 and 23, this is Iron Man in the Night of the Octopus. Rikers Island is meant to be one of New York's highest security prisons, but recently it's acted more like a revolving door. One too many escaped supervillains have left the public skeptical of the prison's purpose. And so Warden Michaels has invited the press to tour his facility to quell their fears. Also attending is industrialist Tony Stark, whose company recently upgraded the security systems to keep the bad guys in. Something the bad guys aren't too happy about. Stark and the rest of the tour are greeted by the super criminals who call Rikers home, all stuck in cells specially made to nullify their specific fantastic powers. The Sandman, Electro, and the Gray Gargoyle swear they'll get Tony for this, but it's the quietest villain that worries the tour the most, Otto Octavius. And they're right to be weary as Doc Ock makes his move, summoning his terrible tentacles to him from their own prison at Stark International Laboratories. The arms burst free from the lab, desperate to reunite with their master, but they'll have to get past Iron Man, the Armoured Avenger, first. The problem there being, these new awful appendages are made from unbreakable adamantium. Nothing Iron Man does can even damage the tentacles, and eventually Iron Man's forced to abandon the battle to save the lives of his scientists, letting the lawless limbs loose. The Master Planner is soon whole once again, when his adamantium arms reunify Ock with his classic arms, and the Doc writes his fellow prisoners a prescription for early parole. Iron Man has followed the arm's path towards the obvious mastermind behind this jailbreak, returning to Rikers just in time to get ambushed by Doc Ock's Sinister Four. The Sandman, Electro, and Gray Gargoyle all trip over each other trying to kill Iron Man, but some well-placed repulsor rays see Gargoyle and Electro do Tony's work for him, playing the baddies off each other. And, by blasting the bathroom ceiling, a flush of water washes the Sandman away in a second. Iron Man took down Sandman, the Gray Gargoyle, and Electro in barely a page each. Pretty cool, but way too easy. I'm gonna assume it's because Marco and Dylan had been repressed by the cells until like 10 minutes ago, so they weren't back at full power yet. But one villain still remains, and this one's always at the top of his game. One that won't be outsmarted as easily as the three Super Stooges back there were. Using two sets of his metal arms, Dr. Octopus shreds Iron Man's armor apart, proving which scientist reigns superior before making his escape, leaving Tony breathing, but utterly humiliated. The days pass in a blur for Tony Stark, but not because he's been drinking again. He's been hard at work fixing the mess Otto has made. Doc's escape made Stark International look bad, opening them up to accusations of security violations and temporarily closing them down. So without business, Tony's left with just pleasure, and nothing would bring him more pleasure than taking Dr. Octopus down. But the Doc isn't the only criminal on the streets tonight. Turk, low-level street thug and long-time reluctant informant, gets a visit from Daredevil that he barely gets out of. There's no rest for the wicked though, as Iron Man also wants a word. Turk swears he's got nothing on Octavius, leaving Iron Man without a lead, but upon learning about Iron Man's hunt for him, Dr. Octopus decides on a more hands-on approach. The Doctor attacks Tony at a dinner date and kidnaps his lady friend, ordering Iron Man to back off or she's dead. Taking over an energy plant, Otto's hostage keeps the police at bay. Iron Man makes his move to rescue his friend, but Otto's adamantium-enhanced arms are still too much. 8 mechanical menaces are too much even for Iron Man, so the hero decides to even the field a bit. Ock controls his other arms mentally, so all Iron Man needs to do is scramble the signal. Easier said than done, even with his energy pod ready to go. But, with help from his date, Iron Man shuts down the mechanical menace. 4 arms down, 4 to go. Only the remaining tentacles are still attached to a psychotic genius with nothing to lose. Even Tony Stark smarts can't compete with the incredible mind of Dr. Octopus. And if you can't beat him, join him. Iron Man uses Ock's own technology against him, weaponizing the adamantium arms to counter Otto's own. Dr. Octopus is defeated, and Iron Man is back on top. What interested me most in these issues was how easily Iron Man took down both Electro and Sandman, 2 of Spider-Man's most deadly. Electro especially I thought would give him trouble. Overall, I think Otto and Iron Man were done justice here, while the Gargoyle, Electro and Sandman were kind of afterthoughts. But they weren't supposed to be the main threat, so I can live with it. Doc Ock's always a threat though, and this showed how even some of Marvel's heaviest hitters would struggle against him. Next, we're going from this high-tech takedown to a much more primitive power struggle. The Batman is about to face 2 of the Flash's roughest rogues in Detective Comics issue 555. Return and Reflections, named so because boomerangs return to you and mirrors have reflections, begins with 2 Central City scumbags at war with each other. Captain Boomerang and Mirror Master use Gotham City as their arena, while they battle to decide which one's the better criminal. Batman's already stopped their attempted heist of a jade necklace once, but the deadly duo escaped. The contest is over who's the better criminal, but we already know that the bigger scumbag is Boomerang. He once dressed a criminal up as his own mum to provide an alibi. He'd do anything to get his way. As evidenced here, when he cheats, he steals one of Mirror Master's special mirrors and converts it into a boomerang and uses it to hypnotize his reflective rival. Under Boomerang's control, the 2 rogues are reunited in crime, and it's up to the Batman and Robin, the Boy Wonder, to save Gotham. Fortunately, they have a plan involving Police Commissioner Gordon and Detective Harvey Bullock. Batman lays the bait by taking up his old disguise of Matches Malone. Undercover as this classy criminal, he spreads false information regarding the jade necklace, claiming that the only one guarding it will be one plainclothed policeman, Bullock, and he says all this within earshot of Captain Boomerang. Digger Harkness plans to have Mirror Master perform the heist and then take the fall, allowing the conniving captain to escape with the goods. Or, should Mirror Master fail, at least Digger will still be free and the default winner of their best criminal contest. Either way, Boomerang wins. Mirror Master follows the orders and begins the robbery, but without Boomerang present, Batman changes tactics. The new plan is to let Mirror Master steal the necklace in the hopes it draws Boomerang out too. Bear in mind, Batman here has no clue of the brainwashing. He still thinks the rogues are rivals. But when Batman and Robin don't appear as planned, Bullock goes rogue. Mirror Master usually challenges the Flash, so overweight and clumsy Bullock is an easy takedown. But taking the detective hostage forces the Dark Knight's hands. And the Caped Crusaders aren't the only ones trailing Mirror Master as Captain Boomerang makes his move. He demands the necklace, but Mirror Master reveals he was never hypnotized. He merely pretended to be in order to lead Digger into his own trap. Mirror Master blinds his rival and uses the hypnotizing Boomerang to force Bullock to open fire. But before any blood is spilled, Batman and Robin break in. Now, I'd usually say there's no way Batman could take on villains of this caliber. Don't get me wrong, Batman's cool as hell and kicks ass, but these two take on the Flash regularly. However, Mirror Master and Boomerang usually have time to plan for Flash. They set up the death traps and strategize specifically for Barry. Here, Batman and Robin have not only caught them by surprise, but also while they're more focused on killing each other, Batman and Robin use the villains' rivalry to their advantage, taking down the rogues. I think the dynamic duo got very lucky here. The villains being more focused on killing each other gave Batman and Robin the chance to take him down, because together, the rogues are just too powerful. He was also lucky that it was just Captain Boomerang, who's really just a trick shot expert, and Mirror Master, who's a high-tech burglar, rather than any of the Flash's deadlier foes. Imagine if this had been Captain Cold and Heatwave, Gotham would have been screwed. For the final story, our villain is so powerful, it usually takes a team of seasoned heroes just to slow him down. But even if our hero doesn't have the raw power to save the day, it's still his responsibility to try. From the Amazing Spider-Man issues 229 and 230, this is Nothing Can Stop The Juggernaut. The mysterious psychic Madam Web is in trouble. She's been having terrible premonitions of a coming conflict, one that she can't seem to see a way out of. All she knows is that something's coming for her, and that she can't survive it alone. So she summons her champion, Spider-Man. I like this bit where Peter jokingly says, hey, maybe it's a villain calling to tell him they know he's Spider-Man, and then the caller addresses him directly as Spider-Man. You can see it on his face, he bottles it. Webb tells Peter that something will soon endanger her, and she begs him to help. And being a nice fella, Peter agrees. The only problem is, they don't even know who their enemy will be. But we've seen the story title already, so it's no surprise when we turn the page to find the Juggernaut. Kane Marco, no relation to the Sandman, alongside his partner in crime, Black Tom Cassidy, no relation to Carnage. These two are the villains from Madam Web's visions, and they've come to town to kidnap Madam Web, hoping that her future sight will give them an edge the next time they fight the uncanny X-Men. And as Juggernaut makes his approach to the city, Madam Web warns Spider-Man to get ready to rumble. Juggernaut comes ashore and decides the quickest way to Web is a straight line. So he pulverizes anything that gets in his way, be it building, bus or innocent bystander. Spider-Man follows the destruction, still unaware of just who it is he's chasing down, until he finally catches up. Pete doesn't recognise the Juggernaut, but when Juggy doesn't even react to a direct hit from Spidey, he starts to worry. Even his trademark webs are useless as Juggernaut's mystical force field melt them away. So if we can't web Marco directly, we can at least box him in, right? Wrong, as the Juggernaut nearly pulls a building down by simply walking through the web net. Overtaking Juggernaut, Spidey sets a different kind of trap by enlarging a pothole into a trap deep enough to halt the villain. Juggernaut finally notices Spidey when Peter gets his attention off where he's going, long enough for Marco to fall in. But, as we know, nothing can stop the Juggernaut. As much as he didn't want to get physical with this giant, it's looking like Spider-Man has no choice. Or rather, no chance. No matter how much Peter struggles, the Juggernaut just keeps going. In fact, all Spider-Man's managed to do is annoy Marco. Madam Web calls to see how it's going, and to give Spidey a clue. Her powers have given her a word: Satorak, the magical entity responsible for the gem that powers Juggernaut, and a name of power commonly invoked by Doctor Strange. Spidey decides to go and ask the Sorcerer Supreme for a bit of help, and begs Madam Web to call the Avengers or the Fantastic Four. But, in the usual Marvel fashion, they're all out of town. Every time, dude, every single time. Spider-Man even calls attention to how other heroes are never around when he needs them here. Even Doctor Strange is too busy with his own adventures to give Peter a hand, and sadly Wong is no help either. Peter's only course of action is to get to Madam Web first. To be fair to the police, they do have a go at stopping Juggernaut themselves. It goes terribly, but fair play there for trying. Spider-Man's been a bug on the Juggernaut's windshield for too long now, and he's finally managed to make Marco mad. Despite his superhuman strength and speed, Spidey goes down easily. just as Madam Web's dream foretold. With no one left between him and his target, Juggernaut grabs Madam Web. But that gaudy web thing she sits on isn't for decoration, it's a life support system. With Madam Web dying on the floor, Juggernaut shrugs his shoulders at a wasted trip and leaves. Madam Web is useless to him now, so why should he care if she dies? Absolutely appalled at Marco's callousness, Spidey manages to keep Web alive long enough for the ambulance to arrive, but it doesn't look good. And, remembering all the other times he's failed people, Spider-Man swears that he will stop the Juggernaut. Spider-Man finds the Juggernaut quick enough by following the trail of destruction and lures him into a nearby construction site. Round 2 begins. The workers all scatter, saving Spider the trouble of worrying about their safety while he'll be a bit too occupied with his own. Spider-Man snaps off a wrecking ball and hammer throws it at his foe, but 3 tons of steel can't stop the Juggernaut. Like a gnat to an elephant, Spider-Man's just an annoyance to Juggernaut. Marco continues his slow but sure escape, trudging back towards Black Tom's boat. But Spider-Man's hot on his heels, even if he's now all out of webs. But Peter Parker is nothing if he's not resourceful. Spidey hijacks a gasoline truck and, out of options, he just goes for it. Will this stop the Juggernaut? No, all it's done is piss him off. Juggernaut has ran out of patience for Spider-Man, and now he's going to scrape him off of his shoe. So it's time to fight dirty. Juggernaut hammers down on Spider-Man again and again as the hero holds on for dear life, refusing to let the villain get away. Spidey covers Juggernaut's eyes and prays, holding on as long as he can, and it's a plan that pays off when the blinded bad guy lumbers into a pool of wet cement. The Juggernaut is unstoppable once he gets moving. But with the cement stopping him from gaining any momentum, the only direction he's going is down. He'll break free eventually, yeah, but it'll be a very slow process. So, for now anyway, Spider-Man has stopped the Juggernaut. These are all fun stories, weren't they? Seeing heroes fight villains they're not used to is a nice change up, and it forces the heroes to think on their feet. Especially when the power level difference is so big. Like in that Superman story, seeing the different approaches between how Batman would handle the Joker and how Superman would handle the Joker really shows off the different modes of operating between the heroes. It also helps the bad guys stand out, like usually the X-Men would psychic blast Juggernaut down, but Spidey can't do that, taking away the Juggernaut's one weakness and truly making him unstoppable. Marco was terrifying in this. Both sides come out looking great, even if one did lose. What's your favourite instance of a hero facing another hero's villain, and what matchups would you want to see? I'd like seeing Spider-Man take on the whole Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, just to see how he'd get on. Or maybe Batman versus Parasite. The greater the power difference, the better. Marvel had a whole event of this once called Acts of Vengeance, and I'd like to see it happen more often. It is a shared universe after all.